3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome back to Living Color with Matt Woodward, episode 12. Before we get started, I want to thank you out there. If you watch my latest video, my reaction and review to the new Run the Jewels album, Run the Jewels 4, it was quite I was kind of surprised to see, the amount, not necessarily the positive reaction, because that's kind of what I hope for. I try to be positive, at least, and but just the amount of views it got, really, in not even 2 days. I think I posted it yesterday. I'm recording this episode 12 on Friday, June 5th. Shows where I'm at right now. Friday, June 5th, and I posted that video on yesterday morning, which would be Thursday, June 4th. It already has about 300 views. I think it's 290 the last time I saw. So, that kind of made my day. I was like, holy shit! I really couldn't believe it. Really, I was like, man. So thank you out there if you checked out that video, and if you checked out that album. It's still a tremendous album. Obviously, I've been bumping it pretty much constantly, nonstop. That's pretty much the only thing I've been playing the last few days. I mean, it's, like I mentioned in the review, and it's sort of the perfect album for the times that we're in. Obviously, the subjects and the lyricism and the production, just the entire package. What you come to really expect with a Run the Jewels project at this point. Just Killer Mike and LP. Just every time 4 for 4, so far. And not to say so far because 4 albums and 4 essentially almost classics at this point. I think we're gonna look back on these albums and and certify them as classics, as they should be. They're tremendous bodies of work, really, and there's no real bad song on either on any of those albums. And I mentioned in that review that I really got into Run the Jewels, on Run the Jewels 3. They caught my attention with Run the Jewels 2, obviously with the huge critical reception and the reviews and, and their live performances and just obviously the music and the feature, the whole the whole package with Run the Jewels. And so, I'm a big fan, and I appreciate those people out there. If you watched it, and if you haven't, feel free, obviously, to check that out. I'm happy to be back here doing episode 12 right before the weekend here. Sort of a week after probably one of the craziest weekends that I think America has seen in a very long time. And I don't even know if polarizing is the right word, because there was just protests going on in every city, and a majority of them were peaceful, really, and one thing that we saw was that there was just these people that would just blend in amongst the protesters and then just cause complete chaos, almost to fit their agenda. They weren't a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. They weren't a part of the protests. They were just there capitalizing on the protests, blending amongst the crowd, and then just destroying every business in sight, essentially. And it's been and I mean, obviously these anyone who does that's not the smartest person in the world, to begin with. But some of these dumbasses didn't even have face coverings, so they're just looting these stores and they're just walking out. And I gotta say, most of the people that were looting these stores were white people. I didn't see a lot of black people in there looting these stores. If anything, I saw black people, checking a lot of white people, a lot of these, dumb fucks that are spray painting Black Lives Matter on on these buildings and properties, and then just have these protesters and black people come across them and they're like, dude, what are you doing? And the building's already almost on fire and the windows are smashed. And this isn't what we're trying to do at all, man. It's supposed to be about, bringing a peaceful protest. But at the same time, I do understand how some people feel that, you can only be peaceful for so long, and you have to, you do have to send a message at a certain point. You do have to, at a certain point, like, people are always just gonna say, well, get out of the road. You don't need to be protesting in the middle of the road, this and that, and like a waste of time, and like it's all for nothing. Nothing's ever gonna come from it. There's no change that's gonna come from it. But I think when all these businesses are getting destroyed, and there's just like a mass amount of people out in the streets, thousands of people in every city, marching. It's and it's not just one race. It's a super diverse group of people, as it should be. This is a human rights issue, really, and it just sucks that these bozos can blend amongst the crowd and just fucking destroy everything, really, like that, and then because that gives people on these social media platforms, specifically on like Facebook and Twitter, obviously, where they just be like, oh, see, they're not trying to make a change. They're a bunch of thugs, like the president of the United States, like Trump tweeted, like, these thugs looting and rioting or whatever. And it's like, no, man, the people that are a vast majority of the people protesting aren't rioting. They're not looting, I should say. And I'm not really sure what the difference between. I mean, there is obviously a difference between a riot and looting a store, but I think you can't really tell the difference right now, just because the amount of force that the police is using, and most of the time unnecessarily, really. Obviously there are scenarios where you don't know how endangered they might feel, or like, what threats they might feel or are around them, obviously, and they have their own instincts themselves. But at the same time, though, then you see a video, like, I believe it was last night, that came out in Buffalo, New York, of a 75-year-old. I believe it was a protester. It was a 75-year-old man, and I saw some people saying that he was trying to give back a helmet, or like I don't really know what he was. I don't know. He wasn't moving very fast, obviously, because he's 75 years old. But the police, like the Buffalo Police Department, I think it was, I don't know how many officers. I think it was two or one specifically, that like pushed him to the ground. And this 75-year-old man, he stumbled, fell backwards, and absolutely smacked his head off the pavement. Like, it's, I saw that video one time, and it was enough for me. Like, he smacked the back of his head so hard on the pavement, he started bleeding out of his ear. And it wasn't like just like dripping blood, it was like gushing blood. It was, and then these cops just walk right by him. They're like, he's bleeding, like this and that, and like, and they're like, fucking help him, like yelling and shit, like, and then they initially, what's the thing that's really fucked up that you're seeing a lot now, is the accuracy of these police reports, because they initially said that the 75-year-old man tripped and fell. But there was a clear video of the incident literally happening on camera right in front of them, of this Buffalo police officer just pushing this fucking dude, or however many of them, because it was a line of them. Obviously, they're trying to, make an advance and push a crowd back, it seemed, and no one really tried to help this guy. He was just sitting there bleeding on the ground, motionless, and these fucking officers just walk right by him, like literally are like stepping around him. And then you just wonder, when they say he tripped and fell, like, so how long has this shit been going on with these inaccurate, completely false, made up police reports where they're just saying shit that's not even close to what happened? He tripped and fell. Yeah, he was standing there and he just fell over. Well, I just don't understand it. Like, it's embarrassing. And then you see the two Buffalo police officers were suspended for the incident, and 57 officers from that I believe it was like not like a riot squad, it's sort of like a tactical response. But 57, the entire squad, tactical response squad, like a riot squad is, but I don't know what the word for it is, but that entire squad, 57 of them, resigned today in order to make a statement and stand behind the 2 officers that were suspended. And it's like, honestly, I think that's kind of, I don't know, it's a show of solidarity, but I think it's kind of embarrassing because the way they acted was fucking embarrassing. No one even tried to help that dude. And why would you push him to begin with? Like, we didn't see in the past week where there was so much police brutality, and that's like a whole other topic that I want to get into a little bit today too. But it's like this goes right along with it. This is just another form of it, you know. And they're just reckless out here, shooting rubber bullets at people. Like, I heard that you're supposed to shoot the rubber bullets at the ground and have it that way it ricochets and bounces up and hits, people potentially in like the legs or something like that. So it's not in like, the chest or the face area. But these cops and these riot squads or whatever are literally aiming for people's heads. Like they're basically shooting to kill with a fucking rubber bullet. And that shit is embarrassing. There's so much excessive police force that's been happening in the past. Well, it's been happening for years, but just within like the last week, and that's what's really, I think, it just adds fuel to the fire. Then you have President Trump, saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, and then he backtracks on it and says he didn't say that or he didn't tweet it, even though he clearly did, and it got removed. And then he tries to make tried to make an executive order on social media. It's just, he's feeding into the fire, and like when he has that whole, he wants to enact that 1805 Act, basically calling for like government insertion or whatever, where you send in the military into cities and, it's essentially the active National Guard members into cities across the country to sort of quell the rioting and the protesting. But I don't know how. I just don't know how using American troops on American people is the answer. We're supposed to. I feel like we're supposed to come together. Not. And this dude's. I mean, obviously he's been trying to divide people for years, but it's just like what. I just don't understand. I mean, it's hard to understand anything that fucking bozo's been doing, but, I just don't understand what a lot of people, and now especially, like, you really see how people feel and think, in this time. And it's you lose respect, naturally, obviously, when people give opinions that you might not necessarily agree with or, you think is, obviously wrong. It's going to happen. You're going to lose respect for people's voices and opinions, But it's like I said, it's going to happen, but I just think this is almost like a time where you do have to accept people's first, initial response and reaction to things. You do have to, take it for that's how they really feel, like the Drew Brees comments, where he's saying, I will never, agree with anyone disrespecting the flag. And it's like, yeah, dude, no one agrees with anybody disrespecting the flag, but that's not the whole point of the protesting. That's not, you're completely missing the point. That wasn't even what Colin Kaepernick was kneeling about. He was kneeling about police brutality, which you're seeing, play out all over, almost in every city across the country throughout these protests and riots. You're just seeing police just beat the shit out of people, and and like I mentioned, how long has this been going on? And especially before cell phones were a thing. It's like before cell phones were before everybody had a camera on their phone and could video anybody anywhere anytime essentially. like, what was it like before? What were police getting away with before? Especially against black people. Black people have been saying for years leading up to Rodney King that they're getting, brutalized by the police. And all of a sudden the video comes out finally confirming what they've been saying for years. And they're finally able to prove, like, you see, that's what's been happening to us, and then all of a sudden those guys get acquitted, and it's to be set free. Like, it's just ridiculous. And I'm happy that the 3 other officers in this George Floyd case have been arrested. I'm not exactly sure what they're charged with at this point. I do know that Derek Chauvin, the main piece of shit, really, that killed George Floyd, I know his charge has been bumped up to 2nd-degree murder. And I think that's obviously a good thing, but, I just think it sucks when, like, I just don't know how people like Drew Brees, he comes off as so well-spoken, well thought out, well-educated, a family guy, Christian, like, this and that. Like, he comes off as, like, Captain America, like America's quarterback kind of. And just to be so wrong, dude. And not only to be so wrong, like this long, like 5 years later? 5 years, 4 or 5, 5 years later probably, right? 4 or 5 years after Colin Kaepernick, and he's still so wrong about it. Completely missing the point, And people have been saying the point for years after Colin Kaepernick. It's like, no, dude, it wasn't about the flag. It was about police brutality the whole time. And I think there were moments where Colin Kaepernick didn't help his case, specifically, when he's wearing, like, the pig socks, or like the pig cop in police socks that he had or whatever, like that, and then the Fidel Castro shirt in Miami. There were certain things that Colin Kaepernick did that didn't help his case, but, it's clear that he was blackballed for his opinion on, police brutality and, specifically, like, black relations with the police, or the lack thereof for years. And I just don't know how Drew Brees can be so wrong. Like no one's saying that we shouldn't support, people giving their giving their lives to fight for this country. Like, we shouldn't. Obviously, everybody supports those people, and we have to. Those are heroes, and so, like, that, and no one's trying to disrespect the American flag. We understand, like, what it represents and all that, but at the same time, it is, America is supposed to represent freedom and justice for all, right? Isn't that, like, what the country's, like, backbone? Freedom and justice for all. And, like, there's obviously no justice. There hasn't been for years, and in so many different cases, including Breonna Taylor, which I believe today would be her 27th birthday. I believe, and she was the Louisville emergency room technician, who was murdered while in her home, in essentially a botched drug sting. A judge signed off on, like, a no-knock warrant, because police believe that 2 men were picking up packages of drugs at Breonna Taylor's place. And so they executed a no-knock warrant, and apparently after, like, a brief standoff, God knows what that means, especially now in police terms. That could mean shit. That could mean they didn't even see each other, and they just lit her up. Because they shot her 8 times, murdered this poor girl in her apartment or her house. And so I don't know. I say, it's just, there's got to be justice for her too, obviously. That's part of what the movement is. Obviously, George Floyd, like, that was really the, just seeing that horrific, murder on camera, just seeing that, like, that obviously was the catalyst of, like, the start of the protest. But, even still, people knew about, Breonna Taylor's case, and, how fucked up it really is, and how much that, what do people know? I believe the Louisville mayor fired the police chief in Louisville this week, which I believe is a good sign, because I think there's so many different things in this where I'm not sure if cops had like body camera. I'm not sure if their body cameras were on in this instance either. So there is a lot that needs to be investigated. But at the same time, who can you trust to investigate? At this point, right? Like, are the police going to investigate themselves? How many times have we seen that before where that doesn't work out? So I don't really know what to really make of that. It's a horrific case, and that like I'm saying that there's so many different cases of this of just black people just being murdered, and just for what, like for literally nothing. In George Floyd's case, a fraudulent check, and then people are trying to say, oh, he was high or whatever. You see like these fucking people trying to basically justify the dude's murder. Oh, he was high, or he wasn't the best person in the world, or, oh, have you seen his criminal records from his days in Houston? Oh, why do you think he was in Minnesota? He was a terrible person. It's like, oh yeah, okay, all that. So, oh, you say all that. So are you saying that he deserved to have, be like Killer Mike said, be choked out like a zebra in a lion's jaw, in the clench of a lion's jaw like that, and have his life, literally drained out of him and sucked out of him, by this fucking bozo with his knee on his neck from this dude who has like 12 prior complaints. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of these cases happening, and it just happens more and more. And it's like, eventually, you know what? You do have to kind of fuck shit up a little bit, and you do have to make noise in a way where, people have to see, like, not only the anger and the frustration, but like the amount of people and numbers like matters. Like, and I think seeing people of all walks of life matter too, of all races matter, showing up to these protests, because, it's not, like I said, it's not a black people issue. It's a human rights issue, because there's never been justice for any of these horrific murders that are completely unjust, and they should never have happened in the first place. I don't know about most of the time, because all of these cases are in, individual cases, but some of the time, and it's, particularly in the George Floyd case, by these bozo cops who have, how many prior complaints to them, and how many, signs just of like aggression that they have towards people or to the public, or maybe towards their spouses. You don't know. There's a lot to unpack from it all, and it just sucks. Because, you're just seeing that. Well, I don't know if it sucks, because I do think it is a good thing to see how people, think and really feel, so that they're not hiding how they really feel and how they really think, specifically like, like Drew Brees. And, that's not to say that Drew Brees, doesn't, I don't know, like doesn't respect black people, or, like doesn't support a movement, or I don't know. But, you just, when you say something like that, it gives off the impression that you don't, or that you don't want to understand, And I think that is like the most, that might be one of the most discouraging things, and that's why I've been hearing, just from even like, some black friends that I've had like posts on social media, where it's like, one of the things that's like disheartening for them is that, that like not only are people not really like listening to the message or hearing the message, they're not understanding the message, and they're not trying to understand the message, because it doesn't affect them, or it doesn't affect their everyday lives. But I don't know. I think eventually that boils up, and I think it kind of like spills over into so many different ways, because I don't know, a lot of these older white folks, they all just want to keep it like the status quo, they just want to have, almost like their way of like, this is how we do things, Johnny, like this is it, like some bullshit, I don't know, but I think it's good to see how people really feel, but I think it sucks when you see people that you thought were well educated and well thought out and well versed and like family men like Drew Brees, like he's supposed to be, he gives off the Captain America image, and he's still so wrong like 5 years later. Completely missed the mark, doesn't understand, didn't really want to understand. And I think you're seeing that a lot more through social media these days. Like you're just seeing people just comment or post like, why are they protesting? Can you guys explain that? Well, can you explain why more white people die by cops than black people? And it's just like, yeah, dude, you're just not understanding, and you're not trying to understand, and you clearly don't understand. So it's almost like a waste of time trying to argue with those people. But at the same time, I do feel like you kind of have to try to argue, or not argue, but you have to kind of try to educate. There you go. Arguing is the wrong word, but you have to kind of try to educate those people, because if you don't, they're just gonna. Those people just. Well, they have little humans too eventually, right? Sometimes, if they're lucky, they have children too, and then their kids are gonna grow up with that same stupid ass mentality. So that's why I think you gotta try to educate people, specifically in this time with so many different things going on. Yeah, I just hope that there's some justice served. Definitely in Breonna Taylor's case, and so many different cases of, across the country and around the world, really, that there's so many things that we don't know about, and that I think that was one of the powerful points in believe it or not, Ben and Jerry's statement. Ben and Jerry's, the Vermont ice cream maker. Shout out to Ben and Jerry's. They released a tremendous statement that was really like poignant, and they said that we need justice. They essentially said, I'm paraphrasing here, they essentially said we need justice in this case, but there's so many cases around the world that we don't know about, and there's so many names specifically that we will never know, and that's sort of the sad thing. And I think that's like a powerful statement to make, because it's like, it's like enough is enough. Like, we got to stop this shit. We got to stop. Everybody's got to be treated equal. Everybody's got to have, like fair opportunity, equal opportunity, I should say. And there's got to be some change has to happen. I don't know what laws should be, enacted, but I think some laws have to be passed, specifically in like criminal laws, like drug possession laws, because I know a lot of drug possession laws are like that do target like black communities, specifically like I believe it's like crack and cocaine laws are like super fucked up, and they're like super like way more strict on crack than cocaine, because crack's like predominantly used in in poor neighborhoods. Not to say like all black neighborhoods are poor or anything like that, but it's found in black neighborhoods. And then you have cocaine, which is like a rich white man drug per se or whatever, and so that you always see sentences aren't as long as they are compared to crack, and that's just like one little way where it's like that's like systemic racism right there, like built right into the system, and that's just one of so many different ways. And so I think some things have to change and some laws have to be enacted. I'm not sure. I'm obviously not a lawmaker, so I wouldn't know what to propose or what to do, but I do know something has to change. But I'm kind of going to switch the topics a little bit. I touched on Drew Brees there. But, I also was just thinking, like, will we see more athletes kneel before the national anthem? During games or before games. I think it's a possibility. You know, I don't think it would be. I'm not really sure the reaction would be. As I'm not. As I don't want not impactful, but as like polarizing, I guess you'd say, as like Colin Kaepernick's was. But I'm sure the president would find a way to make it extremely polarizing and then change the narrative into disrespecting the flag like he always does. But I think it's like I think it would send a huge message though if teams did it, not just individual players. Like Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and individual players doing it. I think it would make a huge statement if whole entire teams, both sides that were competing against each other, were kneeling. And throughout the league, and even then, if they wore like patches, anything really, I don't know, just I think there's certain things that I think players are gonna be more willing to take risks in terms of like fines and stuff, and in terms of getting their message across and fines, because I know like leagues like the NFL is super strict on what your messaging is on your cleats and stuff like that, but I don't think players are really going to give a damn anymore, because I think, the response and the, like the support that they can receive and that, is sort of enough is beyond enough to really, make up for like the $50,000 fine or whatever it usually is. And because it makes a difference on like, is spread throughout social media. You see it all the time. Especially like when Kobe passed away, there was always, NBA players that had Kobe's number or name or like a message that Kobe gave to them on their sneakers. And that made waves across social media. And the same thing would happen, obviously, like it did before with Colin Kaepernick. It would still make massive waves across social media worldwide. I think it would show solidarity. In a diverse way too, it shows that we are all equal. We all can be like the same. Everybody can be looked at as the same and treated the same. And I think that's important. I think it would be a huge thing. But I also think it would be important and impactful as well. Obviously, if players did choose to protest in that way again, by taking a knee before the national anthem, I think it'd be just as just as powerful. But I guess we'll see. It'd be interesting to see. Another thing is that I see that the NBA is coming back, and they just announced that they're gonna they approved of a 22-team format and a 16-team playoff, and it's set to take place in Orlando, as we talked about before, because Disney owning ABC and ESPN, and the NBA and Disney being huge partners together in so many different business ventures, specifically TV, obviously, but I see that 13 teams will make it from the West and 9 teams from the East, making up that 22 teams. And then from there, they'll play for a 16-team seeding for like a playoff. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's a tremendous idea. I'm happy to see that the NBA is like coming back, because I think it's important to finish the season, because this was like, this was like a not a milestone season, but this was one of the it's tough to really explain, I guess, but this was a season that so many people look forward to, because there was like finally parity for once in the NBA in a long time, where there were so many dynamic duos on just about half the teams in the league had a dynamic duo, it seemed, or at least like one relevant star player who was could make a little bit of noise and was decent, or like one young player that was solid. Maybe besides the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks there. Sorry, Knicks fans. I had to do it. I like the Knicks too. Trust me. I'm from New York. I'm from Plattsburgh, New York. But shout out to Plattsburgh, New York, and all the people upstate in the North Country. But the Knicks, they're just a laughing stock of a franchise. And R.J. Barrett's solid. So they do have like a young player, but it's just. That's a team with that's a franchise with no hope. That's a franchise with no hope, man. If you're a Knicks fan now, man, man. Imagine what Zion would have brought to the Knicks, man. That's unreal. But I'm excited to see that 22-team playoff get started. I'm excited to see, how the 16-team seeding plays out. That's gonna be very interesting. And another thing I think is very interesting in the sports world, and that's sort of like a weekly update at this point. It's that it's sort of like a weekly update, really. Is that will the MLB, Major League Baseball, will it be coming back in 2020? It is not looking good for the MLB right now. The MLB owners this week proposed a 48-game season. Now, in an MLB season, obviously a normal Major League Baseball season is obviously 162 games. So a 48-game season is a drastic cut. But the players and the Major League Baseball Players Association already resoundingly rejected it. But ESPN's Jeff Passan, he said that owners will lose $460 million in a 48-game season, and they would lose $787 million for an 82-game season. So that difference, I believe, is around 326 million, 327 million. So it's is the MLB really going to jeopardize, losing jeopardize essentially the entire sport? Because I think it would be like sabotage to the sport. I think it would be horrifically bad for the MLB to not come back this year and play baseball, while you have every single other professional sports league back in action. Because baseball is a summertime game. Baseball's America's pastime, they always say, right? I love baseball. You can't have summer without baseball. It's just baseball's part of summer. It's like hot dogs, grilling, baseball, sitting by the pool, hanging out at the beach, the lake, right? Fishing, boating. That's fire, having, fires. That's, baseball is a part of that. It's just ingrained in the American culture, the summertime American culture. And to not have baseball while every other league is back, it would be, I don't know how baseball would even recover if they didn't have a season. Because especially after a horrific offseason that they just had, with the Houston Astros allegations and the investigation and the lack of punishment that they gave to the Astros, and the overwhelmingly negative response to that by players and fans alike, saying how in the world can these guys cheat that bad, potentially using buzzers, and you definitely using cameras in center field. How could they cheat that bad and still be awarded the 2017 World Series, and almost still be a franchise at this point, and not have all those guys suspended for a year, at least a year or half a season or anything. But to get nothing, and just fans were pissed off about that, and fans obviously still haven't forgotten, because how could you forget? You still have there's beer companies out there that are making beers that are called Houston trash cans or something like that have the Houston Astros logo, and it's just that are mocking the whole situation, and there's t-shirts made, and there were fans showing up to spring training games when there was spring training. How long ago was that? Does that seem at this point? But there were fans that were showing up to Houston Astros spring training games, banging on trash cans and heckling players. And that was only going to be the beginning for them this season, especially with no punishment. You got to play 81 games on the road. Oh man, it's going to be a circus for 81 games. We'll see you out there, pal. But I just don't know how baseball. I think baseball has to come back. And for the owners, I understand 327 million. That's a lot of money, but and you got to think that's 327 million on top of what they were already losing, uh, which is about 3.5 billion. So that is a lot of money, but at the same time, are they really going to jeopardize the sport for an additional 327 million? You know, what is that at this point? That's like a Mike Trout contract, right? You see people break that down. That's like 10 million is like a third starter, right? That's like one team's third starter, 10 million. So obviously it's a little more than that. It'd be like probably like 12 million each team or something like that. But that you can't jeopardize the sport and it's because it's not a growing sport. You got to grow the game. Baseball has struggled for so long growing the game, in so many different ways. There are copyright laws on social media where you can't repost their MLB original content. You can't share it online, and that's the reason why you only see their highlights on SportsCenter when it's basically a home run, or like a walk-off. You don't see any crazy plays on Twitter or anything like that on social media of MLB plays. You never see that, unless it's like an absolutely unreal play. But then again, you see like constantly you see the NBA is such a drastic comparison, right? It's like the NBA absolutely dominates social media. You see like every dunk, you see every game winner, you see every good game, you hear about every good game coming up. It's all marketed so well. It's all tip top like it should be. They're Premier League, and Major League Baseball was that at one point, and they could be that still. Like they could still be considered a major American sport. I think they're a major American sport, obviously, but they're obviously it's clear their popularity has been declining amongst the younger generations. That's partly because you can't share their content on social media. You can't share a walk-off home run. You can't share a fight. You can't, not to say like fights happen or walk-off home runs happen every game, because they certainly don't. We all know that as baseball fans. But still, there's so much more to baseball than just those plays, and those are the only plays you see in highlights, because that's kind of what sells, is just the big plays. But there's so many little things that happen in the game of baseball that they could capitalize on. You saw in spring training when they had the in-game interviews with players, during games, just for like a half inning, a top half or bottom half an inning with a player, and just talking, even just that is so big. It was just like, wow, these people are actually like humans, and you can hear their opinions, because that's another thing with Major League Baseball players. You don't know. There's some superstars, I guess, in Major League Baseball, like Mike Trout, but even Mike Trout might have like 2 or 3 million Instagram followers, if that, right? And what does LeBron James have? Like 170 million. So it's so crazy how undermarketed baseball players are, and nobody knows their personalities, and what they can bring to the game. These could be superstars, but there's just so many things that baseball needs to get together, and I think obviously first and foremost is just to have a season, because it'd be beyond detrimental to not have a season. I just don't know. I think I know it's coming down to the wire for that decision, because they have like a September cutoff, I believe, or October cutoff. I believe it's like a September cutoff for the regular season. To try to play October baseball, but I don't know. 48 games, so you're not going to determine the proper World Series champion in a 48 game season, because each guy's only going to get like 6 starts, 7 starts, maybe. If you do a 5-man or if you do a 5-man rotation, so you might have to bump it down to a 4-man rotation. And that way you get the most out of each starter, where it's like, everyone's getting 10 at least, if not 11. So I just don't think that a 48 game season is the way to go. I think maybe they can meet somewhere in the middle, maybe like do 65 or something like that. But even still, there's people are losing a lot of money, you know, and I think Major League Baseball would take the biggest hit overall, you know, just in general. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to chat a little bit. Those are just some of the topics that I was going through, really. You know, it's still kind of a struggle to be positive, I think, at this point. And but things are opening back up, which I think is, you know, a good thing just for so many people, you know, to get out. You know, I saw the town of Morrison there was popping a little bit earlier. You know, I saw the Rooftop Tavern was going and people were out and about, which is good to see, you know. Yeah, I need to like just get out more and meet new people, you know. I just need to make more friends, you know, I guess you'd say. Not to say I don't have dozens and hundreds already, but you know, I don't really know too many people out here. I'm in Colorado right now, and you know, I don't really know too many people out here, and you know, that was one of the things that I was really looking forward to this summer, was just exploring and getting out more and meeting new people, you know, and just going getting out. And right now, I mean, you can get out a little bit, but it's still sort of restricted. But I'm hoping that eventually we can, you know, find a way to get back to what it was before, somewhat normal, I guess, you know, because I'm trying to hit the clubs, I'm trying to hit the bars. I'm desperate at this point, damn it. I'm single out here. I told y'all before, I'm single out here, so I'm dying. I need something. It's a struggle. You know, it's a struggle being single. It wasn't too bad at the start of quarantine, but you know, once it starts to get to June and July, you know, it's like, all right, this is the summer. I'm trying to like get out and about. I'm trying to go to the clubs or do something. I'm trying to dance. I'm trying to drink a little bit. I'm trying to dance a little bit. I'm trying to mingle, you know. And I'm, you know, I think this is the good place to be, really, for it, you know. And I'm excited. I've been hiking around a little bit more, but just doing a little bit of walking. I'm gonna try to do more hikes coming up. I've even like prepared for the hikes. You know, I've gone to Walmart and gone, you know, like a little bear bell and like an emergency poncho and compass and a little flashlight, and I really went deep. I got like a little backpack, you know. So yeah, I'm just trying to get out and about. I'm just trying to explore more, trying to, you know, make the most of this summer, really. You know, I'm not sure, you know, what's gonna look like in a month or two, in terms of like restrictions, you know, and wearing masks and this and that. But yeah, I'm just excited to have restaurants opening back up and just being able to go out and eat again, you know, instead of just getting like takeout and this and that. So it's nice to finally see everything slowly getting back to normal. You know, in regards at least to, you know, opening things back up and from the coronavirus. But, you know, now you're just seeing that you don't know what to really trust anymore in terms of like the media, because I just saw something, I think it was today, that was saying that there was like a spike of 1,000 deaths from the coronavirus in like the last 24 hours, but there's no, and some are saying that's linked to the protests, but there's no way that's linked to the protests, because the protests have only been going on for a little, not even a week, a little over a week, and from the medical experts, they were saying that the coronavirus takes 2 weeks to develop in your system. So how are people dying from the coronavirus from attending protests? That doesn't add up at all. And then like we mentioned before, there was always doctors, or you know, they're always ruling deaths that you know, the person may have had coronavirus but might not have been the primary reason of death. But they were still you know, calling that a coronavirus death, you know, or labeling it a coronavirus death. So you just, what is the actual number? That's what you got to find out. That's what people actually have to get down to, you know? And I just don't, you know, I just hope that we can slowly get it back to normal. Because, yeah, like I said, I'm just trying. And it's not even really for me, you know. I'm not saying like, oh, we have to get out because I want to get out. I want to go get laid. I'm desperate, you know. But, you know, it is like, I'm excited to finally get out and about and see people get out and about too. Because you can almost see the relief in people that they're finally able to get outside, you know. So I'm hoping to share that same sentiment, that same feeling, you know. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of hiking this weekend. I'm excited. It's supposed to be like 90 out here in the Denver metro area this weekend, so that's gonna be a little brutal, but I'm excited. I'm gonna try to hit the Red Rocks Beer Garden. Shout out to Red Rocks Beer Garden. I'm gonna try to hit up town of Morrison a little bit, maybe explore. I'm trying to hike, trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm actually trying to set up a live stream eventually for the show. I was going to try to go live today, but I think I was going to have to go live on like Facebook, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do a Facebook Live right now or Instagram Live. I was trying to go live on YouTube, but apparently you need 1,000 subscribers to go live on mobile, because I was going to go live on my phone there and while recording. And apparently you need 1,000 subscribers to go live on YouTube on your mobile phone, and I only have about 18 subscribers right now, so, but I appreciate all 18 of you out there, and I appreciate every single person out there that watches and listens to this. I really do, especially, you know, that Run the Jewels, like I mentioned at the start of this show, that Run the Jewels reaction and review, you know, getting about 300 views in not even a little over 24 hours. That really blew my mind. It made my day. You know, I was like, wow, people actually, you know, watch and listen, actually care. Like, you know, you just gotta find, you know, the right people and the right, you know, the right topics, you know, and specifically the right music. And there's no better music at this time right now than the Run the Jewels 4 album by Run the Jewels. That's for damn sure. Potentially one of the albums of the year, no doubt. But yeah, I appreciate you listening. Like I said, I appreciate you watching wherever you are. I'm happy to keep doing this. I'm happy to have started this. It really makes me happy that I've done 12 episodes so far, and I've already done a couple reactions, and, you know, because it took me a while to get started. You know, I think I bought a bunch of equipment on like January 1st, or like, you know, that a week into the new year, and it just took me like 3 or 4 months to even get started and get the motivation, and, you know, not really worry about what people think or, you know, care about, you know, what my setup might look like, because it's not the important thing. The important thing to me was always just starting and just doing this, and I'm happy that people are actually listening and watching, because that means a lot to me. It shows me that what I'm doing isn't going unnoticed, and it's all, you know, it's not for nothing. So it means the world to me, and I appreciate you out there. And yeah, I appreciate you listening, watching, wherever you may be. I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're staying safe. And staying positive right now. That's all you can do, is stay positive. But yeah, I hope you have a tremendous weekend ahead. I will try to see you guys early, sort of in the middle of next week there. And yeah, that is that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. For Living Color with Matt Woodward. Signing off. Peace, people. Have a good weekend. Peace.
Don't stop. You don't stop. You don't stop.